So I thought I'd give a rundown of the modifications I've made to the battle system in my Legend of Zelda game, the Legend of Zelda RPG game, which name pending. I'd still like some suggestions on that. Anyway, these are the characters. I have Link, Zelda, I have a Deku Scrub, a Goron, a Knight of Hyrule, Zora, a Gerudo, a Kokiri, actually you might say, a Sheikah, and a Twilight Wolf. There's also some other temporary characters, but you don't really get them permanently. Over here you'll see kind of the stat spread. Like Link is pretty well rounded. The strength stat I've made some modifications for, so it might look low on everyone, but that's balanced to fit the game. The same with the int stat, which I have renamed Magic. So Zelda's good at magic, Link's physically strong but also good all around. The Deku Scrub is kind of like an Onion-like character in that they get really strong at the very end. But other than that, they've kind of limited use. Goron is big and bulky, as you'd imagine. The Knight is also pretty well rounded, though he's not as great in magic as Link is. The Zora has very, very good accuracy and he's pretty fast. The Gerudo is very fast and also pretty good at magic, but a bit lacking on strength. The Kokiri is really has quite a lot of magic points, SP, so it can cast a lot of spells, but doesn't have quite as much magic as Zelda and very bad strength. Sheikah is very fast and is also moderately strong and moderately good at magic. Also has great dexterity. And Twilight Wolf is the fastest one and is pretty strong but can't actually equip any other weapons, so that's what makes them kind of balanced. The idea is that each of these units can perform different tasks. I think the most important thing for an RPG is to give the player a lot of options. I've played some RPGs where you can basically just attack and use powerful magic, and I think that that's kind of boring because you're just hitting away at the opponent repeatedly. And I want you to be able to kind of fight the enemy in several different ways. Like if you want to hit away at them repeatedly and just cure repeatedly, you can against most enemies. Some enemies have countered to that. So the way I kind of designed this is by having loads of stats to up your skills. So like I can up your strength, up your defense, up your speed, and I've kind of spread them out along the characters. Like the Goron can up people's strength, the Zora can up people's defense, Zelda can up magic, and the Kokiri can up speed. So who exactly you bring into battle will determine exactly how you go about beating the bosses. Another thing is I've changed the basic battle formula. Before, in the script editor, before it was, this is kind of technical stuff that you might not find that interesting, but before it was basically your weapon's damage is measured up against your enemy's defense, and if your enemy's defense is higher than your weapon damage, the attack just does 0 regardless of your strength, and I thought that was pretty stupid. So I kind of made it more Fire Emblem like, in that your damage is the result of your weapon power and your own strength minus the enemy's defense. And that might sound very simple, but it's not what RPG Maker goes with by default. Where is the basic? This is the formula I have for basic attack. So your weapon, if your weapon attack is doubled plus your strength, so the weapon is more important than your character's strength. I've also added in some pretty interesting stats. I've added in this block status, so some enemies can use this block attack, which will just negate all the next damage that hits them. It's a bit like Protect in Pokemon, except it just does it for 1 damage and not 1 round of combat. And another thing I have is the armor status, which is pretty interesting. That is, certain enemies will have armor on them, and what this does is it reduces damage to them, and it can be removed by attacking with strong weapons like hammers or your Goron's punch or like a pickaxe. Yes, you can use a pickaxe. And certain magic can dispel it too. So I think that adds a lot to what characters you want to bring. You always want to bring one character that can break armor with you when you go into battle. Other states I had to add, this is a regen state, blessing I called it. And basically covers health every turn. That was actually pretty difficult to add. I had to go and modify the source code. It's basically poison, but in negative. My biggest problem with that was actually getting the display right, funnily enough. And also, as well as you can up your own stats, enemies can lower your stats and you can lower enemies' stats. But I've kind of made some enemies have certain reactions to this. Like, where is Scaldera? Yeah, like this enemy, Scaldera. If you put down his magic, he'll start using physical attacks. But if you put down his physical attacks, he'll start using magic. So the enemies are kind of smart too. I want enemies to feel kind of smart. I also want enemies to kind of react. I want the enemies to kind of fight like they are in the Zelda series, in that they can have certain weaknesses that you need to exploit. Like another enemy here. Oh yeah, here's Bellum. And the way this works is there's actually two enemies here. You have Bellum and you have his eye. So when the battle first starts, his eye will be closed, and when you deal enough damage to him, he'll open his eye, and then you have to notice this and swap and start attacking his eye until he. I haven't actually managed to make him close it again, but I might try to do that if I can. So yeah, that's it. So you have to kind of figure out what enemies are using armor and break their armor. Figure out what enemies you can lower stats of, which stats are the best to lower. That's the kind of stuff I want to use to build a battle system. It's not a bad battle system in RPG Maker, but it does have some limitations. So there's quite a lot I want to do. If you have any ideas of aspects of the Zelda's 3D combat or Zelda's 2D combat that you'd like to see added in, I'd like to hear suggestions, because I would like to make the combat system feel as Zelda-ish as possible. If you understand what I mean by that. Another thing I've used to modify the game, this is kind of strange, but in the game, when initially with RPG Maker, when you're equipping weapons, it only tells you the attack, the physical defense, and the magical defense of it. I had to do a lot of menu altering to get it so it shows you the strength, dexterity, agility, and magic as well. And this is important because the weapon's attack is twice. Attack and strength are used differently as well. Certain skills will focus more on the strength, certain skills will focus more on the attack. And yeah, showing this was pretty useful as well, because certain weapons don't give you any attack at all, like here's the Dominion Rod, but it gives you big boosts in magic, and that makes a difference in combat. So the Zelda that I'm running now is magic focused. But you can make a strength-focused Zelda if you want. Like, for example, she actually comes with a pretty strong physical weapon. Yeah, so I can give her a 20 strength weapon, but that puts her magic down to 72. So yeah, that's kind of that was one more time-consuming edits I needed to make. But I'm pretty happy with that. I haven't really figured out how to add more stats in yet, but I haven't really looked into it. I'm hoping maybe I can get a natural defense stat that's aside from your physical defense. And that'd be pretty cool. One thing that the game does not actually allow by default as well is automatic states on weapons. So here, like, you can automatically have a state, so you can always have your attack up if you add certain armor. But they don't let you do that for weapons for some reason, which I don't know. I didn't like that. I really wanted to put in the Great Fairy Sword from Majora's Mask, and in Soul Calibur 2, that sword gives you a regen effect and ups your health every second. So to do that, I had to go in and hard code it into the script editor, which works. I'm pretty happy with that. But I kind of have to do it for every single weapon that I want to have an additional effect on, which is kind of time consuming. I can't remember exactly where that was changed. Another thing that I wanted was for my magic-based characters to take less damage from magic-based attacks. But the only way this actually works naturally with RPG Maker is the magic defense stat, which is decided entirely by armor. You can't use it here. So I didn't really want to make it so only magic characters could equip magic defensive armor. So what I did is I went into the script editor and I changed the way magic works, or the way skill attacks work. Game Batter Tree. So now your magic stat that determines how powerful your magic attacks are actually determines how much damage you take from magical attacks too. If I can find it. Here's the. Oh yeah, this is another skill I added. Magic drain attack. So you deal damage to your enemy and you gain the amount of HP that you deal damage to. The one problem with this is that it shows the HP gain for the damage attack, which is kind of not really what I want, but I haven't figured out how to fix that. Where is my where is my magic? Sorry about this. This is pretty unscripted, as you know. I'm just kind of going into it. Pretty technical. Not sure how much you will enjoy this, but I just want to upload a video about this game because I've been doing a lot of work on it recently. I'll go Control F. So point. Yes, here it is. Um, yeah. So um, your intelligence divided by 2 plus your magic defense is how much damage you take from magic based attacks. So that means Zelda will naturally take less damage from magic based attacks because she has high magic, while the Goron will take more damage from magic based attacks. Um, that's similar reason I want kind of a pure defensive stat in there too, but I don't know how to add that in because right now the only thing I can really do to make the Goron bulky is to give him a lot more HP than every other character. So characters normally learn skills by leveling up, but I've also added in some scroll items. So you can use a scroll you find in the game somewhere to teach a spell to another character. So like for example, Link and Zelda both know the fire spell, but I can use a fire scroll to teach it to my Sheikah, which wouldn't be a bad choice considering she has pretty good magic. And these are kind of limited though. You can't get them infinitely. You can only find a few of them throughout the game. So you can't give all the spells to every character. So they are a resource to manage, and this becomes pretty important when you're dealing with healing spells and revival spells, and the stat up and stat down spells. So like the Twilight Wolf, for example, doesn't learn many skills naturally, but you can make him a healer or a stat increaser easily because he's very fast. So I think there should be a lot of options you can go in for creating your own type of character because they can equip different weapons and they're kind of multifaceted in what they can contribute to in the game. And the last thing I'd mention is something that I haven't implemented yet, but I want to implement it sometime in the future, and I've seen it in other RPG Maker games, so I know it's possible. I want to implement dual wielding. Yeah, I want to implement dual wielding for certain characters. Like I don't have actually any weapons. Oh yeah, like the Gerudo Scimitar. I want to be able to use that on both hands, because right now the sub hand is just for shields and stuff. And I want arrows to be equipped with bows. So I'm gonna have to work on doing that. That's mainly how the Zora works. The Zora character equips hook shots and stuff like that, and he can equip spears as well. But he can equip hook shots and boomerangs, and he uses them dual wielding style. By the way, these sprites here are not the final sprites that I want to use for a lot of the characters. I have someone working on custom sprites, but he's not really fast with that because there's not that big an interest in this game right now. But if you like what you see here, then spread it around, and I would love to hear feedback on the combat system of anyone testing the game and how much fun that is. Because I think the combat in an RPG game is extremely important. I feel it's underrated a lot of the time. Like a lot of people tend to just focus on the story of an RPG, but I feel actually the gameplay, you might not have as noticeable an impact on the game, but I think it does actually affect the enjoyment of an RPG an immense amount. Anyway, I hope you find this interesting and yeah, spread the word about this game around. I'm gonna keep making it for years on end, but I've been working on it for like 5 or 6 years already, and the speed in which I work on it is going to depend on how many people actually want to see it and play it. So yeah, join in next time. I'll talk about something else. See ya, folks.